Mark in the count. The swing arm now coming back as our countdown continues.
One second. Having an issue.
Am I muted? Was I muted that whole time?
Or yeah. No, do you hear me now?
Yeah, no, you were fine. It was me. Hi, what I was saying when my mouth was moving was hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening. I think I listed those things. Welcome to the Brick Something News. Super professional over here. Hope everybody's doing well. Whatever. Fast forward, I was welcoming you, friend. You, as you're labeled there, Dre, the geek dad, but some of you out there might be familiar with Dre as Dre of the Collector Safe Space. And I know you've had some explanations of stuff on your channel as to why you've decided to rebrand and everything. But could you give us the 30-second version of that, but also now, like, what are you doing? Let's talk about this whole day. Explain your robe too while we're at it.
Okay. All right. So this is kind of funny. So let's start with the first thing. I've been doing the Collector Safe Space now for about 3 years. I went through some things as a collector in several communities on YouTube where I wasn't really gelling, finding a home where I felt like I could be who I was, and other people like me were feeling similar. That there were these lots of cliquish attitudes. So I decided to do something where, I would create a place where you can go, be just who you are, love the toys and not have the drama. And it's been successful. We've done a lot of good things in the community. We've done fundraisers for cancer, for pediatric cancer. We've done fundraisers for raising money for kids who don't have money for school lunches. We've done that as well. It's been a good thing, but then fast forward to now, I feel like the channel has kind of grown and the message is slightly changing because I'm changing, we're ever evolving. So part of what I'm doing now is, I'm more of a geek dad. I've been a geek dad, but it's like, I feel like it's more what I'm into, what I talk to, who I relate to. And, a lot more of seeing my toddler growing up enjoying toys. So it's more of me sharing the love with toys with her. And this robe is why I love wearing it. One, it's cold as hell in here in North Carolina. And two, it was actually supposed to be for my cosplay with my youngest. We were going to do Mayday and Peter B. Parker from Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse. We did it, but she wanted to be Ghost Spider, or Spider-Gwen. So I was like, well, I'll still be him. And the robe, I was like, I don't wear bathrobes. I'm like, man, this thing's comfortable. It's warm. I'm going to keep it. So ever since I've been, Brick has seen me many times wear it and people have commented on it. So it's on brand. So now it's here.
Yeah, it's a thing. Well, you are the geek dad. And what's kind of cool is that, like, there are a couple of us. If you do the math on when this whole like geek culture in the United States sort of started, right? We're talking like buying toys, reading comic books in the main, right? And watching nerdy movies. It makes sense why there's a lot of us in that kind of like dad space, that dad age, or uncles or aunts or whatever it is, right? Moms as well. And so I've always been attracted to that notion. Like Geek Dad Life is a show that I watch and I've been on a couple of times. And a lot of that is just like, yeah, there's something always appealing about that notion to me. I was like, yeah, I'm not the only one who's kind of like a grown person who's in charge of raising younger people, but is also very much a kid at heart. And so like balancing that. So then to see you doing the Geek Dad, and obviously like it's a completely separate brand from Geek Dad Life, but there's this phenomenon, right? And so I love hearing people talk about being nerdy dads and sort of hearing how they kind of balance, fatherhood, parenthood with also, raising young people, and how much we do or do not share the stuff that we love. So it sounds like it's very much embedded in your household.
Oh,
You've
yeah.
got father, daughter, costumes and everything. So.
Oh, yeah. So this is my teenager. She's a teenager now. She reads manga, comic books. She's more into manga and manhwa. So a lot of the stuff we bond over is like talking about like Sakamoto days and talking about Spy Family and things like that. Little one, she's huge into Spider-Man. So it's like we're into that together. So we share that love. So it's very cool. Like you said, it's not often you see other dads like yourself that can say, "Hey, I relate to you." But I'm seeing more joy seeing her buy toys. Like we got some new toys today. Like she got some new Christmas toys today. And I was just like, man, I had more fun playing with it than I think she did at some point. But it's
Can I ask what they were?
She got my mother-in-law bought. Pull it up here.
What'd you get?
So, trying to grab it.
So that looks sizable and fun already.
Oh yeah. So my mother-in-law bought our youngest. She's a huge Bluey head. We're all Bluey fans in this house.
Perfect.
But she bought her.
You didn't see the thumbnail.
3-in-1. So this thing converts from an airplane to a boat. Like you can take the cockpit out and it becomes a boat. This thing actually opens up. It has seats. It comes with like 5 figures, and I have to put batteries in it because it supposedly lights up, and when you push buttons, it makes sounds. It has the character voices pre-recorded. Like, I'm like, I remember things like this when I was her age, and I was like, oh, and she's like, Papa, please, when we get home, batteries. But she's been kind of enamored with Funko Pop of Abby and Elmo that my mother-in-law got her, and she's been playing with that in the bedroom of my wife. So yeah. Like this is one of the cool things she got.
Yo, that thing is amazing. That I hadn't even seen that. So I actually had some Bluey stuff to talk about because in anticipation of kind of what you and I were talking about, and that was not on there. But we'll get to Bluey for sure. That's awesome.
Yeah, Quip. So it's dope. It's the airplane, the hotel, the whole thing.
Oh man, that is fantastic. All right. Thank you for the reminder. Let's go ahead and say hello to the folks in the chat. Yeah, Quip was here first. Quip will actually be here on the channel 2 Sundays from now. Yeah. Cool. So that's going to be awesome. And by all reports, it's going to be his first live stream ever. So we've been hanging out. Speaking of Geek Dad Life, we met each other over there on the, in those chats and in the Patreon. So cool guy. Nolan, what's going on? Hello. Also, always great for you to be here. Yeah, he's that little Australian dog, eh? Yeah, that's the one. Ray Paz knows what's up. Bluey is great, though. What's up, Jason? Jason's Electric is here. What's going on? Thank you so much for coming through. Gabriel, what's going on? Evening, everyone. He says, here you go, explaining that for a little bit earlier. So yeah, so thank you for letting me know. And of course I wasn't and I'm totally messing with you now. So yes, thank you. So thank you to folks who've come by. Joe Solves is here. This guy's rad. This guy made my week. So hello, Joe. This is you. Yes. Folks know what's going on with the shirt. Totally Geek Dad strong. Blake, what's going on? Recon Rage, great to see you. JMax77. Oh man, it's awesome to see these folks here on a Sunday. Quip's already, as you addressed, calling out his favorite play sets that we don't get anymore. That's kind of why I wanted to talk about. I say we don't get anymore. We hear that a lot, but they're there. They might not just be the properties that you want. Fantastic car. What's up, Seth? Fantastica, maybe saying that's what that thing looked like. But let's see.
They need to remake that. It's Speaking of which, for us Marvel fans, especially if you play Marvel Rivals, we just had them drop on Friday.
Couple of things coming. Yeah, I mean, one, the Fantastic Four movies coming out. They had that sort of. Did you see that drone thing that they flew over the audience? And so, Fantastic Car is very much in play, but also, as you pointed out, maybe for a different generation, we're going to be needing to expand those Marvel Legends sort of like pools of where we create figures from, because people want those versions. Where did I leave off? Sorry, Josh Brown, what's going on, man? Always great to see you, but he's not popping up. I keep clicking his name and nothing is happening. There you go. What's up, Josh? Thanks for coming, watching. Justin Mohan, hello. Never stop wearing your robe, he says. I hope you wash that thing, man. Be real. What's up, Rick? Yeah, good. Rick Jones, what's up? Ahoy, mateys. Thank you, Rick, for being a fellow old here, because we're going to talk. We're going to talk Micronauts, or at least for a little bit, Rick. Not enough people are, man. What's up with that? No Chewing is here. What's going on, Chewy? Yes. So thank you all for stopping by today to hang out. Let me name this at the bottom if you didn't see. I do want to clarify a couple of things and address some things, because I've actually been incredibly distracted this week because of what's happening in the LA area. Me, born and raised LA, one off the 101, Queen of Angels, grew up in a place called Downey, California. And then when I was 18-ish, I went to school in Santa Barbara. And since then, I've been moving further north to here. I'm in San Francisco, or South San Francisco. And so some people on other parts of the country have asked, hey, man, are you doing good? And it's been an awkward thing because, one, I'm in San Francisco, so we're north. We're not experiencing what's happening in the LA area. That said, my family is. And so I know a bunch of folks, some people in the chat have gotten to meet my brother. You all have met him here on the channel. His house and my parents' house, which is 2 blocks away, are in Pasadena. If folks have been following, we started with a Palisades fire and then the Eaton fire, which is right near their place. So they evacuated right away, immediately, as soon as my dad had spotted the fire on the mountain behind their home, like ways away, but behind their home. And so they're like, hey, let's get out. They evacuated. That night, man, it was hard to sleep. I didn't really. I was just watching the news, basically by landmarks, trying to figure out, like, is it getting closer to their house? And at points it was, and it was like, oh, how far are we talking? They're talking about New York Drive now. That said, the next morning when I got to check in with my family, they were able to say, hey, neighbor went, and we can confirm, like, the house is there. So far, it seems like the neighborhood was spared. But like 2 blocks north, a couple blocks east, not so much. Like literally just things gone. We were just there for the holiday. Got my brother and my sister gift cards to one of their favorite restaurants that is no longer there. Just like neighborhoods that, friends, families, homes. Anyway, it was hard, and they got to go to the house for a little bit, but then, was it yesterday? Yeah, just yesterday they found out, hey, they gotta leave again. This time a little bit different because of they're shutting down the gas and all this stuff. But anyway, all that to say, obviously, like, my family was so far so good, spared. I think for the longest time it was like 0% containment. I think now we're like 13 to 17% containment on that fire in particular. Palisades still is live, and they're all live. Anyway, it's a messed up situation. I just wanted to let people know, one, for those of you who checked in, thank you, but I'm all good here, family wise. So, it's a live situation, but anyway, heart goes out to those folks. I know we talk toys here. We talk joyful stuff, happy stuff. And unfortunately, the real world is the real world. So as I said this morning when I was coloring with this woman, Allison Troy, we were doing some Monchichi action. I still have him here today. Like whatever you can, if it means you're hugging, like whatever you need to kind of get through things, or you're playing or you're coloring, do it, man. And I know that's real. I don't know. It doesn't seem like much because like literally people have lost everything, and the world is the way it is right now. So it's kind of a question mark as to what rebuilding is going to look like. Just want to take the time to say, yeah, we're aware. Like I'm not ignoring that stuff for sure, and I'm thinking about it. But this is a little bit of a nice, break, I suppose. Or when Papa, what's going on? Hope all's good with you. If I understand, you're kind of like Long Beach area, right? Maybe. But hope you've got, and I'm sure you got folks in LA, proper and the area. So hope everyone's doing well. Blake is here. He used to live in Altadena. Yeah. Around Arcadia. Prayers to you and the family. Thank you. Blake, I don't know if you got to meet my brother Ted, but yeah, if you can keep him in your thoughts. He was at Legion's Con. Speaking moistly, what's going on? Speaking moistly, if you can command the seas and send more moisture and whatever. I know that's not how it works, but what's up, man? Ed Action Figs. I appreciate that. Love you too, Ed. Good to see you. Anyway, that's all. I don't really have anything super brilliant to say other than it's on my mind. And yeah. Emotional support dumplings, indeed. How many emotional support dumplings are in that?
5.
5 good looking bow. Good. And they all have wonderful personality.
They do. I've hugged these with work. When work was getting rough, I know how it is.
Man. Yeah, it's a trippy thing. I can't even imagine. But anyway. So, LA strong, all that stuff. Altadena strong, Pasadena strong. Folks will rebuild. We will move on. I know, but still. Okay. With that said, here, I love this. Yes, thank you. Much love to everyone. Thank you, J Mac. And it's absolutely a reminder of how blessed we are to be able to gather, talk about our needless ephemera. Absolutely. This stuff, I use that term, obviously, needless sarcastically, because it is important. It plays an important role. So anyway, I appreciate you all. Thank you for listening. Let's get into some nerdy toy talk. Kind of alluded to it earlier. This is the news. If you're new, it's called the news, but it's not really news. There are some news-ish stuff, some toy news related things that we're going to talk about, but then it's going to be me and Dre just kind of talking about nerdy things that we want to see, but new and old, like, bluey toys. So we're going to do that. And maybe actually you already named some things, man. You were running through some anime. You mentioned manga and manhwa. It's like, I want to talk about that stuff and how that's influenced our pop cultural, lives and collecting. So anyway, with that said, you'll see a bunch of stuff popping up on the screen. Over there by Dre, there's going to be URL popping up right around now under his left armpit. Boom. bit.ly/Brick Something, capital B, capital S, and then capital News. What else do you need to know? Oh, and then there's a QR code over there by Spidey's face. So if you go to that after the stream, you'll see a Google Doc that will show you like all the links to the stuff. Please check stuff out. Please go like stuff. Please, consider supporting stuff, because that's how this stuff continues. Okay. And plus it's fun. All right, let's get into the stuff we saw. I don't even know. Do I have all the links open? I may or may not, but let's just see what, I don't know. It's been one of those days.
Oh no, dude, I know. It has been a day. It's a day, like they say, that ends in Y, and oh
yes.
my goodness. This is something that I've been looking forward to all week long. So
nice. All right, then let's.
I love it. Anytime I get to hang out with some very good friends and we can chat it up, it makes my day.
Let's do it. Let's talk about some news-ish stuff, some actual news-ish stuff. As folks know, I'm a big fan of the Four Horsemen Studios. In fact, can I just share that Joe Gonzalez, who's in the chat, hooked it up with a Grisha figure, a figure that I never thought I don't like to go back too much and spend too much money on the older stuff, but they're rad. This figure's rad. So different and just unique helmet, everything. And I'm like, whoa. He'll like, if he were here right now, he'd start making excuses about how, oh, there's this piece that's missing. It was, but you know what? It's amazing. So thank you, Joe. That's an older figure. And if you maybe are like, wow, I've never seen that figure. Guess what? The Four Horsemen are doing what a lot of toy lines have been doing recently. And they're going to give us a book, a nice, beautiful, thick tome filled with photos and all the details and information about every single figure up to a particular point. I think it goes up to Ashes of Agbender. It's one of the more recent waves put up for reorder. Every single figure that they've created for the last 10 years. Mythic Legions is a 10-year-old line as of 2024, which is amazing, right? And usually we have to wait, like 30 years after the fact to kind of go back and get this kind of thing. So this thing is going to be on pre-order from January 13th to February 2nd at storehorseman.com. As you can see here, like it's chock filled with information, 360 pages, a lot of beautiful photos by Trevor 16 Shooter, and you can kind of see this stuff here. I love that the cover kind of represents the sort of the leaders or heads of the four baddies and the four goodies, if you will, factions wise. And it's cool. Like, I think it's a huge achievement. I was super happy to be able to finally get to Legions Con on this huge anniversary year, where the mood was very celebratory. And when they finally announced pre-order 4 days ago, folks were like, great, let's go. Are you a big Legions guy?
I was a big Legions guy a few years ago, but then we had like I know many people have said this, when life hits you, I had to get rid of a lot. It was actually I had told you this. I sold like about 75% of my collection off to fund a trip for my family.
Yeah,
and because I wasn't working, and I had a lot of Legions that were very good figures that went towards getting us to take that trip.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could have sold a lot of things, and I get that. And maybe someone would be like, why did you sell your Legions? But because of the value of them, I totally get why you'd start there.
And it was kind of sad. It was sad to see the line go away. And then recently, I started working again. I joined the workforce within the last 17 months, and I've been able to start getting pieces back. I'm sad that I missed the Christmas, the Spirit of Christmas past.
Yep.
I wanted her, and now good news is that a lot of people don't know this, is that we're getting a new house. So that figure that I want is going to have to wait a lot longer now, which makes me sad. But it's a house for the family, and that trumps it. I was
100%.
Like, I need to do that. But I love that figure. I told you that figure was one that brought me back towards the Obscura, which is also, I mean, I got Frankenstein's monster, which I thought was amazing. But that figure definitely, like I told you, for whatever reason, that thing hit me in the heart when it comes to my mom, remembering her. I'm glad that they did put it back up. And I was just like, man, just if times were different, I would have been able to afford it. But, things always wait. You wait a little bit for it,
Good news. I think that figure, like, I think it's going to be around and accessible for a little bit, man. So I wouldn't fret too much. I think they'll be around for you to be able to pick up later, in the home, maybe the first holiday when you're celebrating, or even the second. I have a feeling they'll be accessible. So
that's what I'm thinking. I wanted to. It's like I hate that I've missed out on some, like, that I'll never get back, and I'm just like, they're way too expensive now to try to get. But at least that looks like one of them I might be able to try to get by maybe my birthday in July. We'll see.
I don't think it'll be one that's going to be by secondary market. In terms of, at that time, I think they'll still be available from retailers or from the Horsemen specifically. So I think you'll be okay. But on that note, like, I don't know. I'm a huge fan of what they do. So that figure in particular is a perfect example of just how smart, like, they are as a company, and how they've been able to grow both the initial line and multiply that to, you mentioned Figure Obscura, right? And then Cosmic Legions, right?
Oh, big fan of sci-fi.
Yeah, and then now, like they at the last Legions Con, they introduced a couple of other lines that they're going to do. One that's looking back at the sort of history of Mythic Legions, and they're gonna sort of re-release sort of new versions of older characters. And then there's another whole like thing that's meant to be tribute and collaboration with other toy makers. So they've got a bunch of stuff going on. It didn't stop there, but before we move on from this book, I will say that in addition to the book, they announced that there will also be a figure going up at the same time. This is, you can see here the details here. This is going to be offered the exact same time as the book will be available on their website. This is the Silver Knight. I wasn't around at the very beginning, but this is a knight from the very first Mythic Legions release as like the one, as a Legion builder, right? These sort of like nameless army building kind of characters that apparently like they've gone back to some of the Legion builders and re-released them, made them available. And this one is the last one. And it looks like it will be coming on a lot of it'll benefit from the newer body, basically the newer knight body. So you'll get that increased articulation that folks really enjoyed from the Valiant Knight, but also it comes with this shield that didn't exist in the first figure. That is like the ultimate celebration of the studio. It's the Four Horsemen shield, man. It is, that thing is so cool. It's their logo. And if you're familiar at all with how these things work, you can actually pop off on these shields. You can pop off the centerpiece. So you can take that whole sort of sculpted Four Horsemen logo off and put in this more kind of like plain thing if you want to build an army. The head's like on a faceplate, so you can actually use, I think, 2 other existing faceplates by the time this gets released, to get kind of like different looks underneath. It comes with 2 different what do you call that? The visor kind of thing?
Yeah,
yeah.
The plate, the visor that drops down.
Yeah. So it's a cool looking figure, and drum roll, it's $30, I believe, is what they're looking at, which is, $30. And if you're Joe Gonzalez, maybe you can get a 12-pack for $325. Call me a liar, Joe. Tell me I'm wrong. Are you doing the army build? And here he is, by the way. In fact, Ed is correct. Joji is the man and the stash. So Joe, are you going to be getting a 12-pack? I'm just going to ask because I am impressed by you and collectors like you, man. This is his line. All Four Horsemen stuff is his line, and he goes deep and depth and breadth in terms of his collecting. So anyway, you're awesome, man. Look at that. Yeah, let's give him a shine. He's a great example, Joe, of what a great community we have. 100%. So, and Quip knows a deal. He knows a good deal, especially for the quality of Horseman figs. $30. This is 100% like gonna come with just a beautiful paint job. It's not like maybe some of the early builders. Like if you take a look at this, there's washes in here. There's levels of detail in the paint that are just amazing. And that shield, as South points out, like that shield alone. I'll be honest with you, if it didn't come with that shield, I wouldn't be getting it because I am not a huge knight person and I have plenty, like way more than I personally need. But need in quotes. I need in quotes that shield. So anyway, the book, this thing, I think it's a great time to be a Four Horsemen fan. And I'm super into indie toys. Look at you. You've got some stuff still. You got your stuff.
I got some stuff I find hidden around. Like I found 2 of mine that were just laying around that to play with on my office desk.
It's a great time to be them and to be a fan of them because I'm big into indie toys and just what they've been able to achieve and how they sort of conduct business, how they develop their line and then into other lines and the way they, just, man, it's super impressive. But let's see what folks speaking moistly is like. I don't know about that shield, a little too much for me. I hear you. It's a little bit more decorative. But again,
I think it fits the pseudo-European history from like I think it fits that pseudo European kind of like mythological knight, what we would have seen come out of like the movies. I think
Totes.
definitely. I
Yep.
like the emblem. I love the fact that you can turn it to almost like it looks like what we'd see on like a buckler, a smaller shield.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it still looks nice. I'm more of an Asian fan, and Aztec and Mesoamerican,
Sure.
which I love. That's why I love the newer line that's coming out.
Yep.
I'm loving those
That's-
figures.
Yep.
I already pre-ordered most of that line through Big Bad Toys.
Okay, so cool. You got it. I love it. You're like, oh, I had to part with my stuff, but it sounds like you are healthily and actively working your way back.
Oh yeah, it hooked me. Like I'm gonna blame Oz. I love Oz when he sent me the pictures, and I was like, oh, and then Terrence was telling me too. So I had a lot of people in my ear, and it's like,
for sure.
I love it.
Yeah, this loadout's great. But anyway, did I miss it? Were there other folks? Let's see. Okay, confirmed. He might be. No, he's totally. Of course he is. And Josh Brown can't put together in his brain how this is $30 and the color Legion Knights are $45. I hear you, Josh, and I'm only assuming that they are they're aware of the deal that they're giving folks. And I think that's probably intentional. They're probably counting on people getting multiples, and because they're great figs. So maybe. I don't know. I'm with you, Rick. That's how I am. I just need the shield. Well, apparently, J-Mac, I know, but me and Rick, maybe that's what you're referring to. So, all right. Dre's saying my Ray is saying, not Dre. My favorite stuff is the skeletons, but I always miss out. I do have the 4-pack graveyard on pre-order, though. Yeah, those things are going to be shipping soon, sooner than people expected. And yes, speaking moistly, would like to point out the historicity that the main battle weapon for the millennia were pole arms. Swords were only sidearms. Fair enough. Does that apply to Mythosian? Anyways, yes, it is absolutely a good deal for Legion's figure. Let's go ahead and move on though, man, because there's a couple of Four Horsemen stuff. This thing, and I'll try and go through this one quick. People know about the dragon. What you need to know though is that they shifted things. Originally, they said around January, and for a while they've been saying no, we're going to put a pause on it. But they confirmed exactly when it's going to come, and they're looking at March 2025. It's already starting, Dre, like the crowdfunding part of this habit, which we'll talk about in a little bit with the Cursed Dead, has started. I know, Adam and Arlen were looking to do their Kickstarter in March. So there's going to be potentially 2 big things doing crowdfunding at the same time. So, and I know there's a couple more that are just waiting to get their turn to go.
Hasbro has already have leaked a few things to the community that there's looking at March or June, between March and June, and then again later this year. So we're looking at 2 more big projects, crowdfunding projects, not to mention Mattel and Mattel Creations. I mean, there's so many.
Yep. Well, I will say, I love them just like trying their best to communicate, because they're really great at communicating stuff, but they're just hit the key points. It's a dragon update. We know you've been talking about it since November, everybody. Here's the info. Number 1, the campaign starts March 2025. Number 2, to be clear, this is not a situation where you can sit on it and hope to get it later unless you want to pay a lot of money, because they're only making, they're not going to be making it unless they make their minimum orders, right? So this is kind of a new, that's not true. I take it back. I was gonna say this is new for the Horsemen, but that's how the line started. Started off and did a couple Kickstarters, but this is a special thing at this point in their life, of the studio and the line, where it's like, it's a huge thing. It's going to be a straight up crowdfund. If we don't get it, if they don't hit that minimum, they're not going to make it. That said, they're going to make their minimum. But I think the important piece for people to remember is, hey, if you want to get this, you should pre-order it. Like, I don't think it makes sense to be silly and do a wait and see, or hope to get it in the aftermarket, because I think potentially that's risky. Stretch goals include figures. that's just kind of cool. And pricing info.
Probably a mount. Make a saddle and a mount for a knight to ride that thing. I mean, I'm not getting it. I already have stated it
I
to
know.
everybody.
You've made it clear.
Brick knows I'm not getting it. It's mostly because of exactly what Speaking Moistly said. It's space. I would love one of these things. As a Dungeons and Dragons nerd, I would love one. But
Yep.
Speaking Moistly said it best. It's space.
Space. 100%. I was coming out of November, was like, I'm not going to get one. And then I'm like, I shouldn't really, I should really consider it. And so for good throughout the holiday season, I was like, I'm going to get it. And then something clicked and I was like, nah, I have no business. At this point, the space here, my brother's going to be getting one, so I'll enjoy his. So that's what I'm saying so far. But Speaking Moistly is absolutely right, man. That dragon it's the size of a dog. But once you pay for it, that's it. You don't got to take it out for walks. You don't got to feed it.
True.
And Joe's a little bit indignant, as indignant as Joe gets. That is a deity, not a mount. But maybe he likes to welcome people and help people.
Exactly. Well, Tiamat's not a mount, but Tiamat is also a 5-headed dragon from Dungeons and Dragons, Joe, which you know. And if Tiamat, she was going to let somebody ride her, it would maybe be God.
Yep. Erwin Papa's also like doing that dance, going back and forth. I said, was it the last one or 2 episodes ago on Brick Something News? I think I said, I'm not getting it. And I was like, folks, please disable me. Like, make sure, don't enable me. Support me in this and telling me no. And I want to be this guy on this one. I want to live through others, 100%.
Oh, this will be through my friends. I love my friends, and I will. When I know Brick, if he decides to get it, or when Joe gets his, I will enjoy Joe showing it off. I'll enjoy Oz showing it off. Terrence, everybody else I know getting one. I will enjoy you guys.
There's nothing to not like, Ray, especially in person. So I'm one of those people who actually did see the prototype in person. Like it's beautiful. It's I think it's like one of these things for toy history. It's like a game-changing kind of offering. So I understand the desire for it, and I hope it does really well. But right now I'm saying no, sticking to it. But 4 Horsemen and their brilliance. Was it last week? Was this just a week ago? They announced this is coming to Toylanta as an exclusive first, and then eventually, a regular version minus like 3 items will be coming. Not needing to go like super deep into the news in this, but I will just say that I think this is an example of the studio's brilliance, man. They don't have a military line. They have a high fantasy line and a sci-fi line, and that sci-fi line, they've been pretty clear, like they really intend to not have human beings in it. So it is interesting for them to do this, which is neither cosmic nor mythic. It's a one-off figure like Demistros, but to unveil that in at a show that is associated with like, G.I. Joe shows, the folks who do Toylanta do Joe Lanta, to kind of unveil this, like I love what they're calling the ATL 25, artillery something 25, right? But it's cool. It's like, when you see that, did you automatically go to the G.I. Joe reference at all? Like
it was Roadblock.
Yeah,
it's Roadblock. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna. No offense to anybody that's not a fan. I mean, it is Roadblock, and it looks fantastic. I mean, he looks like the Roadblock that's actually the Target exclusive Cobra Island one with that scruffy beard and the gray camo. And I think the gun looks cool. I think that if you're trying to keep it in like that, you want to put it in your Cosmic Legions style, where he's not really, he can be human. I mean, hell, what was it? Lando Calrissian and Han Solo, they're humanoid, but they're not human.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think there's just a very creative intention behind Eric and the studio's like statement of like, this is far away from us, truly no Earthlings. So, but this is great. And the reason I say it's, I think it's super smart. One, because again, you're going to be providing it as an exclusive for a crowd that I think there's a ton of military toy fans, whether that's G.I. Joe, Action Force, Operation Monster Force. And that's hot. But, you know, how do they get to kind of like play and flex in that space? And I think this is great. Provide a one-off figure, get some attention. Maybe sometime in the future they do another line. Who knows? But I think what this potentially does is it gets folks who wouldn't have otherwise looked at Legions or maybe even heard of Legions, because they're so used to, you know, like paying attention to the military action figure groups or whatever. I haven't checked. I haven't heard. Do you frequent like classified groups or any of those kind of military to know if this has hit the radar?
I think from what I've heard through the groups that I've seen on Facebook that I've been on, and I have a few friends that are very much into G.I. Joe. You know, Dave is huge into it, and we were talking about this figure, and I said, I know Cosmic Legions because a lot of people were saying Cosmics are not as popular a line as the Mythics, which is true because you have the Figura Obscura, and those are very popular. But I think Cosmic Legions is a very. I bought a lot of them, and I had to get rid of them. That first wave, I had to get rid of that first wave. Now, if I were to go back and add like a military style line to it, where it's not really humans, but it's like soldiers of fortune, and you put this guy in a 2-pack with like they're saying, like if you want to do like G.I. Joe and Cobra, as like I would have seen them maybe a 2-pack potential, like a Cobra Commander style, like Snake Alien, because we have all the snake molds that they've been using recently. That could have been cool, but this figure is striking a lot of chords with a lot of people. They think it's a very good idea, and I think it's them testing the market. I think it's them looking and saying, hey, bringing attention to Cosmics and bringing attention saying, hey, if we were to do a strictly military line, maybe aliens, maybe hybrid monsters, you know, to try to compete with the Action Force and Operation Monster Force, this could be their thing. And I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. Blake's saying it has hit the military figure sites like 3POA. And then there's always the Space Marines link too. So those of us who are invested in the sci-fi, the Cosmic Legion stuff, we could work that in. It's funny that you say Cosmic Legions is not as sort of popular a line, and I think you're right. The tricky thing is, as we just established, Mythic Legion has been around for 10 years, and like, you know, just there's a time thing involved with it as well. But you know, I think I don't know if they're doing market research. Maybe they'll do a military thing. I think they have plenty on their plates with Figura, Cosmic, and Mythic. And then, as I said, they're doing like technically two other one. Infinite Legions is their sort of like collab space where they're gonna like do a Glyos figure for the first one as a collab. Like this could be just like furthering like that notion that, hey, we do Mythic, we do Cosmic, but we also do other things, and you know, keep paying attention to us because there's going to be a lot of cool things coming out from the studio. And I think it's super smart. Again, these guys, they know what's up. Yeah, I agree with J-Mac. This one's going to be a great seller at that con. I highlighted it earlier, but to come back to Josh, if you want the exclusive, which is everything seen in this picture, definitely you're going to need to hit someone up for that Toyland exclusive. However, these three pieces here at the bottom, the shield, the baton, and that tusk sort of painted head, are the only ones that are exclusive to this, because after those have run their course, the studio will be selling a version of this figure that only comes with, you know, this loadout and the figure. So that's what I'm going for, man. I will just say I've spent way more time on this piece than I assumed, but this body is one of my favorites. Novian Lean was the first to kind of have this build with that armor and the cloth legs and this type of, you know, boot and everything. Love it. I had to get that. The Cosmic exclusive from Legions Con. One of the figures had that exact build, and this is now another third one. So I'll be getting the more standard version, but wait, there's more, because as people like were saying, I think it was Ray who was saying is looking for these. Like I mentioned earlier, these are coming soon. Like just Horseman's on it. Don't need to, like, you all know they're great. They put this out here yesterday that they're now on the water and heading here sooner than expected. They're thinking that it's going to come to them mid to late February, so it made it ahead of the Chinese New Year. So there you go. You've seen these figures, right? So this is kind of like a repainted version. Yeah.
I actually
Fantastic.
was actually discussing with some friends recently because they want me to dip my toe back into customs. And one of the customs they want me to do is a Ghost Rider. Now, obviously, I need a Skelly head, and hey, if you have an extra and want to part with one, I will gladly trade you some.
I just got this one, so no.
So anybody out there, if you guys have a trade, I'm willing to trade. I just need a Skelly head. I just want a Skelly head because I have the body already set up for the figure. I just need the head so I can paint.
Oh, you just need a head. Do you need the newer ones necessarily?
I don't know. I do not.
Okay, well, we'll see. We'll see what folks got.
If anybody's got anything, just let me know. Hit me up. I will gladly trade. I need one because I want to do that custom. But these things look amazing.
All right, let's shift gears a little bit from mythos, from the world of Cosmic and Figure Obscura. Let's go to like more. Let's do some cyberpunk stuff. Jada Toys. Yeah. Have you been partaking of what Jada's been putting out there in Street Fighter and serial stuff? As he reaches down, look at you with your cami
and DJ. I mean, two of my favorite characters from that line. So yes, I'm a little bit mad with the cami. I'm not going to say the reason why I made my wife laugh. My wife is not a toy collector by any means. But if you guys have purchased this cami, and if you look really at the back of the box, you will notice that her face looks very serious. Now you get two head sculpts in the box. You get I want to zoom in so you see that right there. Mm-hmm. Now, when you get the figure, if you look at that face, she has a face like this.
Yeah.
And I told my wife, I said, what does that look like to you? She's like, he's super polite. My wife's like, I don't know. I'm like, that looks like a doll. And I'm going to leave it at that. And she was like, oh, no. I said, so I'm going to be putting the screaming head on the cami, the angry looking. Because I used to love her.
Hey man, that's actually in-game accurate. Come on, now.
Exactly. I know, but it's like it's supposed to be her blowing a kiss. So because that's what I like. So this figure is very good. I think it's for the price point, $24. You know, I mean, come on, folks. You're spending what, $80 on the SH Figure Arts, which I'm a huge fan of. But this is just better. I think better bang for your buck if you're looking at a budget collector.
Jada has definitely shown what can be done at a certain price point with those Street Fighter figs. These figures, the Cyberpunk line, which there's two figures to start in this really tiny wave, are a little bit taller and a little bit more expensive. I think they have it around 30, a little over 30, whereas the Street Fighters are 24, 25. Toy Migos, who are that's where this video comes from. They posted the two reviews of the two characters from this wave. Man, these things look really, really good, especially for like figures that you can buy at a Target, right? So this is Lucy. She's looking fantastic, and if you know the Street Fighter figures, the builds are great. The articulation's great. What you're seeing here, you notice from her sweater and stuff, is them working in soft goods, which I don't believe we've seen in any of their lines prior.
No, this is the first. I think this is their first shot at them doing that.
Yep. So shout out to Toy Migos. If you don't know, you need to, because they do great stuff. Great toy talk every Tuesday and Thursday, and just like really great people. They've been about, look at that. Whew, this is all Cheney and his photos, man. But they've been huge supporters of Jada, especially in this sort of Street Fighter era. This is the other figure, David. I'm definitely going to be getting some of these figures because, like I said, they're larger, so they would kind of work with my Mythics and other figs. But I just think they're looking really great. They move beautifully. I'm going to display them here without the jacket like that. You can kind of see his cybernetics and stuff. He's got this cool arm attachment with like the gun coming out of it. This is all from, folks, I should have said this, Netflix did an anime based on the sort of cyberpunk world called Cyberpunk Edge Runners that's focused around this character, David. He gets this cybernetic body, and yeah. Anyway, I just think it's a cool looking figure. It's neat to see like that we're getting cyberpunk at this time. It's like, you know, I think it's cool. I love to sort of see all the different genres kind of popping up. You got your cosmic straight sci-fi. You've got this stuff, the whole like, you know, oh man, I'm blanking. What is it? My mouth is something and I cannot scream. And you know, of course, there's Blade Runner, but there's an author, William. Ooh, chat, help me out. Cyberpunk. Oh my god. Anyway.
Yeah,
but
I know what you're thinking of.
Yeah. I'm just happy to see this stuff, this aesthetic and this thing. So
you want to see a Masahiro? Do you want to see Masamune Shiro Ghost in the Shell done by this line? Because I know that Haya 100%. Just did there, and I pre-ordered the Haya one, but I would love to see them take a crack at doing Kusanagi and Bato.
Yeah,
and doing the actual robots. Like I would love to see that with this line, especially seeing how detailed they were. The Tachikoma, come on, tell me a Tachikoma would not look dope.
Hell yes,
with this.
Yeah, so check it out. Go check out these two reviews. I just realized. Normally I've got Thanos here dropping links, and my bad. I just assumed. Philip K. Dick, thank you, Collecting Brothers. You rock. Yes, and check out that review. I just dropped in there if you're watching live. But again, all of the links will be at the end of the show, available at this QR code. But Toy Migos are doing it. They do great reviews. They do great coverage of stuff. So go check that out. They're not the only, though. Jada's not the only one playing in this cyberpunk world. This, a week ago, kind of caught a lot of attention. I meant to cover it last week, but we ran out of time. So I cut it, but this figure, I know the V Toys has been doing a series of cyberpunk figures. I've heard actually mixed things about their first release from this. Some people really love that figure, and others are kind of like, but I think design wise, he looks cool. It's like, you know, it's like classic mix of coming out of Japan, a lot of the anime mixed in the sort of cyberpunk aesthetic with the cybernetics and stuff, and your sort of samurai ninja type stuff.
It looks good.
I don't know much about the cyberpunk world, like cyberpunk trademark, not the genre, but this sort of thing. But
did you ever play Shadowrun?
I did not.
So Shadowrun was a tabletop RPG game that was set in the world of cyberpunk.
Okay.
So like cyberpunk
I remember seeing
that. Is that world? So you would have like orcs. It mixed magic and technology. So like it was like big corporations took over, so you had like dragons. But what the whole idea was, dragons came and like destroyed the world, and magic and technology eventually merged into one. So you had what were called street samurai. And
so this is from the RPG.
It's I'm thinking for the aesthetic. Because I remember running around, like you would see Oni that were very much could look like that, like a cybernetic Oni demon running around with a katana. And then you had different types of job classes. Like you had dwarves that were mechanics, or, you know, you had orcs that were actually like gun runners and fight with katanas. And it was kind of like a whole interesting hybrid world within the modern world.
I love that. I got to check that out.
Yeah,
I don't game.
It's very cool.
Like we have a Nintendo Switch, is like the newest system we had. Before that in my life, I had handheld Nintendos, and then before that, the last proper system I had was a Dreamcast. So,
nice, but it's still a good proper system. That's right.
Yeah, but it just like there's a whole world of games and gaming that has eluded me as a result. But
Shadowrun's old. You could probably play that on your Switch. It was a Sega Genesis game. That was it was ported over. We got it ported here in the U.S. It was actually straight from Japan. We got it ported here. It was great. It was great. And it was also on Super Nintendo as well. The game was slightly different, but it was still similar enough. It was you would have to like you'd have to like jack into ports, like you pop the jack like Johnny Mnemonic into the computer and have to hack things. It was awesome.
Man, but take a look at just the fig under this, man. So there's the body, and then you've got all the soft goods. Like, check that out. That is like
good job on that there.
Yeah, like that is like high fashion right there. I dig it.
Straight out the Matrix, man. Like it looks like you just popped them right out there. Like there you go.
It's the tech look. And here's that first figure that came out in this series. Again, I've heard people talking about how great this figure was. I've heard people saying like, I don't really love this figure too much. So, but I think it's cool that people are playing in this world. Joe points out, yeah, Japanese mega corporations are a big part of cyberpunk lore, and cyberpunk does have cyborgs that are Asian themed. Okay, yep, Dreamcast the best. I have some history with the Dreamcast actually. I used to do graphic design. I used to work at the time. I think we were still called Spy Plane. It was a small company at the time before it got bought out by a larger company. And so we had an account with an ad agency that was Sega's ad agency here in San Francisco, Footcone Building. And we worked on, and I was a creative director on the first web sort of like Sega Dreamcast viral campaign. Because like when they were pitching it and when they were like teasing this thing, it was going to release on November 11th. So it was like 11/11. And the idea was that the AI, I love it. It's so quaint in 2025. But back then it was like, yes, exactly. It's thinking. It's this. The campaign, the tagline of Footcone Building was, it's thinking and it's watching. So we built this whole thing. This was like early JavaScripting days, but you'd go and then all of a sudden, like it looked as if a lot of heavy GIF use, as if the browser, something was taking over your browser, and then 9 windows popped up and we had them animate, like actual little tiny windows move with me and my coworkers, like in the security camera looking footage on our computers, as if like the AI was looking for the idea was it's looking for competitors kind of a thing.
Oh, that's
it's
dope.
Thinking. It was fun. It broke a lot of people's stuff, but yeah. Oh, sorry, not 11/11. It was 99.99. Thank you. I was trying to remember the numbers the other day. It was 99.99. It was fun. It was, but then people got their hands on it, and like it was a dumb. It wasn't the AI that we all thought we were going to be playing against. But here's another fun toy fact. I got together with Michael from Toy Habits, and it turns out his wife was the Footcone Building contact for us. So I'd met his wife and worked with his wife on this campaign. So small world. Anyways, that was a whole other life ago. What's up, Larry? Good to see you. Larry's Geeky World is here, and Toy Connections is here, and he's happy to see you, sir.
Good
in your robe.
Always.
I love it. I played a ton of Marvel versus Capcom on Dreamcast.
Oh God, that game was. I mean, if I'm looking at Dreamcast, I mean, you got to look at Capcom SNK. That was one of the best fighting games on there.
I may or may not have gotten 2 of these for my kids, I swear, for Christmas, just so that we could play and I could introduce them to Marvel versus Capcom on the Switch. I was like, kids, you cannot play Marvel versus Capcom or Street Fighter on those stupid controllers. So, Geek Dad. Okay, let's see. So again, these are cool. These are available for pre-order right now on 5K and other folks. On 5K, it's $87. But this thing, this is the Gun Girl. I believe it's from, again, I don't remember. One, I haven't watched the Cyberpunk with David. I think I got through like 3 episodes, and someone was telling me she's in that. I don't know. So I apologize.
I have not watched all of it either, so I don't know.
People can educate me, but damn, isn't this a cool looking figure? She was on pre-order last year, and it was one of those where it was like, oh man, I really want to get this. I never bit, but I wanted to buy it. And I think I'm going to go back. But people have started to get them in hand, and you see that here on one of my favorite sites on Instagram, a Key Lion 07, just beautiful pics of figures that I care about. Like this person is paying attention to the similar things that I am. So like the figures they show are like ones that I want to see. The deluxe comes with 2 complete bodies, so you can actually make 2 complete figures. So you got the more human body and the more cybernetic body, different heads, etc. The way these things move, it's Romanki and Cowl, and their stuff is fantastic as far as movement goes. They did like a basic naked body for customizers that people love. But check out that hardware, man. The fully posable
I love that. Like the
gauntlet.
hands.
Yeah. And
It's
all these like
fantastic.
sculpted details in her face. Put this next to that David figure. All you weirdos out there, yes, her rubber sort of underwear comes off too. If you want to be like that, this is a statue, I think, of this is the actual character. So you can kind of see this is an unlicensed version of that character. But it started hitting, and so here's a little bit more of the figure. You can just see it looks fantastic. But apparently there were some issues. People were reporting that like coming out of the factory, they're like 2 different, the knees weren't like, I think it's like 2 left knees or something. There were a couple of other issues with some of the plastic. So, for a little bit there, people are like, oh man, like we're really looking forward to this figure. What's up? And so just the other day, Roman Key put this out there, and this is obviously not in English, but they have a translation here that's clearly like an auto translation. But it's some good stuff in here. They note that like, yeah, they've gotten the feedback from the first batch of folks who received theirs. And they acknowledge like they call it a bad shopping experience, at least in the sort of auto translated version. So like they're owning it. And so they're going to go ahead and try and make it right by folks. So if you've already ordered and received yours, they're going to like reach out to you, or you can reach out to them, I think. And then you have the option either to keep them, or you can return the products and wait for the second batch. And then they want to give people a pair of small arm replacements, parts, and I love this, meat neck. We've been talking about the meat neck for a little bit over on the Toy Migos Discord. The meat neck joint for free. So they're going to fix it for those of you that got the one that the first batch that wasn't so great, and they're actually going to go back and fix the next batch. So I'm definitely in for this one. It's not a cheap figure, but essentially for the deluxe, it's like 170, but you get the two full figures. So they're looking now February to March for the final delivery. And you saw it. She's looking great.
It's a dope thing.
This is to clarify, there's a reason why it's called neck meat, because this is the cybernetic neck, and then there's a human, flesh neck. So
give me 1 second, I'll be right back.
Yeah, no problem. You go handle your neck meat. But this thing is cool. So I'm looking forward to it. Curious if anybody in the chat has it pre-ordered. But we'll see. Oh, it's Becca. Thank you. So Becca from Edge Runners. So yeah, you're gonna wait for the Jada toys, which totally makes sense. And Jada's great. I think there's just things going on with this body that, like, for science and articulation, I want to check it out. So it's true, a good meat neck joint can make or break a figure. I think it's fantastic. What's up, Gaz? Good to see you. And come on, Quip, Oh, slightly off track, but congratulations, Larry's Geeky World. I hope you made some room, man, because that thing is huge. I was on Oz's channel last night, and Kenzo was admiring Thanos's. Thanos has it, but it was sitting right next to, like a foot away, was his Eternia. And Eternia looks tiny in relation to this cat's lair. So clear the shelves. Anyway, back to this. People are doing Cyberpunk, man. Oh, here's the if you want to order from 5K, it's here. But this other outfit, Star Arc, was at a toy convention in Asia about a week ago, and they shared these figures. So this is their, what do they call them? Cyber, let me remember. Cyber Limit is the name of this line. So folks in the chat, do you know, is Cyber Limit a thing? Because I didn't do any research, but clearly it's of the same genre, right? Again, the Philip K. Dick novels and your Johnny Mnemonics, your what do we call it? Tachikoma and the Ghost in the Shell. Thank you, SAC. Ghost in the Shell vibe, you know, interchangeable cybernetics and everything. So they've got a couple characters lined up here that you can see. Cool looking stuff. I may not, you know, I'm not necessarily thinking I'm going to be getting a ton of these, but I just celebrate the fact that this stuff exists, man. Like that there are several companies giving us brand new toys from IP that don't have a ton of figures out. And that if you look at all these things, I know I keep saying like some of these are unlicensed from the properties they got. So I get that. And that's a real thing I got to acknowledge. But we're in this day and age where even those companies who are doing that kind of business, where they're like, you know, it's not necessarily completely 100% above board and they're paying for everything they're supposed to be paying for, but they're not spending, you know, they're not sparing any expense when it comes to the actual construction and engineering and stuff. So that's the stuff that trips me out. If you look at this stuff, man, there's just a lot. Yeah, there's just a lot going on in terms of the articulation, the different parts. Like think about how many molds need to go into these figures, go from here to here, and you don't see any reuse. Like I was looking through these, there's not any reuse on these figures. And I'm just like, okay. Oh, maybe these gauntlets might be the same as this young little ones down here.
That's probably the only thing.
But damn,
the head sculpts are all different. The body molds are very different.
It's minimal. So, and I will say the cool thing about the whole cyborg thing is that whenever you got gaps and any kind of like, you know, stuff in action figures, it kind of just works, right? Like, at least for me, like it's like, oh yeah, because they're cybernetic and those gaps are meant to be there. So looks like this guy even has a whole other torso. Again, it remains to be seen till these things get properly solicited, but I don't know. Just it's there. It's cool. Are you familiar with Star Arc at all, Dre?
No, I'm not, and I'm gonna be starting to research it because that looks really, really good.
Yeah.
I love the green hair. Like that hair is popping right there. The green, like I'm picturing it. Like if I were to picture it like anime, like it looks like it would probably be something like holographic because of the fact that it's transparent. I'm like, you can do so much fun stuff with that. I mean, It looks awesome.
Yeah, UV light activation, glow in the dark, all of that stuff would work. Well, Star Arc, I didn't know about them till these. Like they're doing these gigantic eldritch horrors that I've showed here on the channel before. They just posted some of the prototypes that they brought to this show. I want to say it was a Hong Kong show, but I'm not 100% on that. But so they showed their Cyber Limit stuff and they showed this stuff. This stuff has been available on BBTS for pre-order for a while now. There's like a proper Cthulhu, like this guy. These are big, like, you know, we're talking slightly bigger than a Legion's troll, kind of big.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you.
I've heard, I've heard from folks online on Discords that have seen and engaged with these things that the joints, at least for this guy, aren't as strong and sturdy as they'd like. And there's, you know, you got a gigantic figure like this with wings. We know wings are kind of problematic sometimes, all the time, not even sometimes, all the time. And so I am kind of curious. This is like, I wasn't, to be honest, sold on the look of this guy. It's like an odd, to me, like way to depict a Cthulhu, but this one I love. Like this hits for me in terms of like the shape of the body and the weirdness of it. There's like a whole stomach maw that can eat.
It's scary looking. I mean, it's a cuttlefish head, which that in and of itself, I just think back to Black Panther, or not even, was it Black Panther or
Wakanda?
no? It was Age of Ultron. He says, "Oh, you children are going to scare me with what? Scare me with a giant cuttlefish. It has the light on its head
What
under
was
the
he
water."
referring to?
He was referring to that fish that was under the water that uses that light to attract other little fish, and then it
Okay.
eats you. And it's got a nasty looking maw. So
Okay.
that right there, to me, like,
Yeah.
imagine seeing that pop out of the ocean at night. That would scare
Yeah.
the crap out of
At like, you know, whatever, the head alone would be what,
me. Yeah, just
like
that.
20 feet, and you're just like, whoa.
And it's a
Yeah.
Cthulhu monster, so you know
Mhm.
Cthulhu. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
so
mess
I
with your
like keeping that on
brain,
brand. Yeah, keep it on brand.
mess with your mind. Yeah, so this stuff is cool. So I'm gonna keep like watching this company. This is a newer one that they haven't solicited yet. Just wild. Like at first I was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. Cthulhu. That's probably the one and only thing we'll see. But it's like they're going for like a whole series of these things. This is like the equivalent of folks back in the day doing Shogun Warriors. It's gigantic kaiju, right? But like a million times the sculpting and articulation and paint. Man, tentacle galore.
You know what? It seems like a thing recently. I've taken notice of this because I just got, prior to a little bit before Christmas, I sent you the manga images of a lot of the H.G. Wells stuff
Okay.
that, like, all the Cthulhu, like, they like
Mhm.
manga artists taking
Yep.
the novels and novellas and
Yep.
turning them into manga. I've read in the Mountains of Mystery, which is
Mhm.
great, you know. And then I got a couple more of them, and I'm just like, wow, like, you guys are doing a lot of Cthulhu, and a lot of this stuff is still up for pre-order coming out later this year. And I'm like, I wonder if, like, in Asia, like, Cthulhu has taken more of an interest. Like, people are starting to see it because it's a very big kaiju, and we have kaijus like Godzilla, Gamera, you know,
Yeah. It's always
Ghidorah.
been though, right? It's not totally new in that. Well, first off, like in Japan, obviously, like they're an archipelago, an island system, and sea creatures are a thing, right? And
Of
like
course.
and so there's that, but also, you know, don't think ill of me, people. Legend of the Overfiend, hentai, like you know that's been a thing for a while. Devilman's been a thing, and there are plenty of tentacles in Devilman stuff. So it seems like that might have been a presence. I don't know to what extent actual uh, what's his name, white supremacist weirdo, but
Isn't it?
obviously
Well, not well.
Lovecraft.
Lovecraft,
Lovecraft.
H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, incredibly creative mind for sure. But like, you know, whenever we all have our demons,
Don't be anybody of color.
we all have our demons. Yeah. But still, like I suspect that it's been there because I love it, you know. And again, slowly we're hovering around kind of things I want to talk about with you because I know you love manga, anime, but also superheroes, you know, Western superheroes.
Oh
So
yes, as
the
I look at my
overlap is there, dude. We were just talking cyberpunk and like again, Philip K. Dick and a lot of like the digital age kind of stuff. You got your Blade Runner, which you know has always mingled with sort of like Japanese corporations and Japanese pop culture and ships and whatever. Sid Mead was, you know, channeling everything from Western design language to Japanese aesthetics. And so I feel like there's always been this fun
Oh yeah,
overlap. And
there
yeah,
always will be, especially when you,
yeah.
like you said it, like when you look at movies like, like Blade Runner. Blade
Mhm.
Runner was a very, you know, cyber Tokyo, new friend, like San Fran
Yeah.
Tokyo. I'm gonna borrow Big Hero
Yes.
6. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
very much that style of, like, Asian culture taking over the market, and it's not in a negative way. It's just showing the cultural impact of what the
Yeah.
culture was doing.
It's totally showing the cultural impact and also sort of the economic like race between these capitalist powers, right?
Total
And
Recall,
yeah,
same thing. You go all the way back. Total Recall
yep,
and Running Man and all these movies had that very Asian. And it's not to sound really bad to say it like this. They had their fingers in it. Like, they knew the market. Like, if we're gonna do stuff, that Asia was talking about. Like, they would always mention like Toshiba and like
yep.
Hitachi, and like they were the new technology. You know, it's
Yep.
like, wow. So then you see Blade Runner come out and you see these things. I agree with you. I love it. I want to see more out of this line.
Good call on the Total Recall. That's also a Philip K. Dick piece of fiction. So as was Blade Runner. was it Do Androids Dream of Sheep? And anyway, yes, I do too. And so since you asked, there's more, dude. Star Arc also has these. They just put these up, and it's interesting because I don't think these ever made it to like a 5K. But they were solicited on Big Bad Toy Store just this week. And so
I saw them this week.
I meant to. These were also on the agenda for last weekend with Jay Shot, but we got so stuck on an awesome Ninja Turtles conversation that and check that out, by the way, if y'all didn't. Like, Jay Shot it was awesome to hang out with Jay Shot. Great conversation, but like he helped me wrap my head around like how wild it is to be a TMNT collector right now. So we got on that, and I never got to these. I was like, oh, let's call an audible. Let's cut that short and let's talk Turtles. That said, like, these are the deep ones, clearly like inspired by this notion of the Eldritch horrors coming out of the Lovecraftian kind of world. This fish is like ghastly. It's awesome. I think these are like about the size of like a 6-inch, 7-inch figure. Yeah. Let's see. I should confirm that. But yeah, smaller, 5
they're
inches.
about the size of like the Joy Toy Turtles.
They're hunched over.
They're hunched over, but they're thick boys. And I'm gonna say this for anybody that's a DC comic book fan of like the I want to say like around 2010s, when they redid Aquaman, they did a whole series called the Deep, where all these creatures of these eldritch horrors. These are I'm picturing all that stuff DC artists were doing. This is that. So if you're interested, go take those. It was like a 7-volume series. Great book reads. If you're not a fan of Aquaman, it'll make you a quick fan.
They were supposedly trying to channel some of that in the Aquaman sequels and Mariana's Trench, kind of like these deep earth, deep sea creatures. But well, we'll see. We'll see what.
Maybe we see in the next move. Like maybe if you ever give us if you ever get I know where he's not going to get it, but I mean, if Namor ever gets his own film, that would be something I'd love to see.
God, he better. He's one of my favorite additions to the MCU, man. Namor. Whew. Fun fact: that guy doesn't know how to swim.
He's also one of the oldest actors next to Harrison Ford to take a role. For people that didn't know, he's like in his late 40s, early 50s. He's about our age. And I mean, he looked real good to do what he was doing. So
amazing, dude. So this is the orange version. This is the I don't know what they're calling them. They're a purple version. So
I like that one better. I think the purple one works better.
They're looking great, man. Look at that. Whoo.
Light doesn't get down there. Imagine just the way my brain starts going. Like, light doesn't get down there. These things are like living in darkness.
Yep.
Oh, it's just.
But then there's phosphorescence to give you maybe some of the colors and bioluminescence. Sorry, and you can see the logo too. Like,
I love it.
They're clearly channeling the tentacles.
I love the Overfiend reference. You get 10,000 cool points.
It's come up a couple of times this week, and I always just sort of thrown it out to sort of see who bites and gets the reference. There's always like one or two.
The best anime hentai story. You don't need if you're not watching it. You're watching it for the story, folks. I could care less about everything else that was going on in it. It is a great story. You need to watch it,
Mr.
If you're an adult.
Travis, yes, that's one you need to look up. Legend of the Overfiend. No, man, he's gonna hate that. But yeah, maybe someday. The purple fish man is probably my favorite.
I agree.
Great looking toy. Not the cheapest on BBTS. You might be able to get it for like $55 if it ever does end up on a 5K. And shipping, of course, is an issue. But anyway, horror. Like that segue.
I love
horror. It seems to be a thing right now, man. Horror is getting a fun resurgence between this Kickstarter that started on January 1st and runs through February 1st, The Cursed Dead. I know this is coming out. Space Zombies from Mars, a friend of the channel, Adam, and then Arlen, who were they're AWOC folks. Like Arlen worked on a lot of the sculpts for AWOC. Adam works behind the scenes on that line, are doing their own line right there. There you go. Yeah, man. I'm having fun with mine right here. They are doing their thing in March, and that's kind of a horror-y mixed with like 50s, 60s kitsch pop culture.
Ooh,
Space
that's
zombies
very cool.
from Mars. And
It
then
works.
yeah. And then Jorge and Carlos from the Badass Reviews and Toy Addicts. They've got their From the Realm Vampire coming. So it's like we've got Lovecraftian horror, we've got classic monster horror. These guys, the Cursed Dead, who I'm just going to tease just super because I want to remind people that it's there. They've reached 60,000 of their 175,000 goal. They've got 20 days to go. Next Sunday here on the Brick Something channel, I'll be hanging out with Adam and Phil, who are the sort of 2 of 3 members of Toy DNA who are putting this thing out. Brilliant dudes. Both have like a ridiculous pedigree in terms of what they've worked on. Here, let me see what it says here. I know it says, here you go. Our core team industry veterans are led by Phil Ramirez, who sculpted on a lot of these things that you might be familiar with, including like those early TMNT figures back in the day, a bunch of McFarlane stuff that for some reason isn't listed here. And then Adam, who is the creative director over at Gentle Giant, who, if folks don't know Gentle Giant Studios, they do a lot of the prototypes and development for a lot of Marvel Legends, a lot of HasLabs. They recently did the Giant Man, a lot of Diamond Select stuff. So, and then Josh Falcon, who's, worked for Hasbro, Mattel, Disney, doing sound stuff. They're doing this thing, and they're very much inspired by like old horror properties, and they're taking on this thing where their packaging is going to be like VHS covers, with 2 exceptions. They've got a pair of demons in here called Hate and Rage, theirs are going to be more like ancient spell books. So, they're really embracing that sort of horror thing from multiple sources, including what might be referenced as like B-movie type horror characters, right? We'll be looking at this in more depth next Sunday. But I did want to share some of the things that they've revealed just to maybe keep it in the radar, but also show you what's up. They have these figures. This is the Djinn, and this is the Drinker. And these are those are the main heads that are on these things. The Drinker actually has 2 heads, one with pupils. But as you can see sort of here, each figure is going to come with the same skull head, same sculpt, but painted to match the body. So there's a world where if you needed creepy looking demony exposed skull characters, you can have those, or if you like their existing stuff. If you're into horror, if you're into body horror, like this is that stuff. Oh, yeah. I think that's right. Yeah, no, this is actually their Krankle, which is their sort of Santa guy. But each of one of their figures will have the skull. Were you was this on your radar at all? This
I saw this in one of our groups, and I remember seeing the demon figures, and I was like, wow, these look really cool. And then I started looking a little into it. I didn't go too deep, but man, that Djinn, just as somebody of Middle Eastern descent, it's so cool to see different takes on these kind of like Wishmaster style, imagery. And I love the articulation. It looks like, you're paying attention in an homage, very much like Mythic Legions does, to the cultural impacts of these things and where they're from. And then I love the idea that you get the skull painted to match the body. So if you want to like just be like, hey, I want to have these in the background instead of being a main character, if you buy 5 of those, you could have them be like servants of that Djinn.
Right.
You can do a lot of fun things. I think there's a lot of cool playability with this. So I like it.
Yeah, you know who needs a bunch of these? This girl. She needs a bunch of dudes hanging out with her, right? A lot of these like little demony things. So there's all sorts of
I got her too.
Yeah, man. There's so many ways to work in these figures, and they pose so well. Like,
You mean like him? Wait. If you want to mean Midnight Suns?
Yes.
I mean, we could go Midnight Suns with the drinkers, get a bunch of them around.
You got to get your Ghost Rider figure together. But yeah, I that's just a little bit that I wanted to mention about Cursed Dead. Be here next Sunday, again, Adam and Phil will be here, and we'll talk all about the Cursed Dead. I like to support the indie toy thing. It's kind of my thing. Obviously, I'm not shy about getting my Hasbro stuff and my Mattel stuff and whatever. But I love what Horsemen do. I love what Spiro does. I love what Unparalleled Universe does, because it's like pushing the game forward. And man, these indie toy companies, like, again, I said this with a third party, or what we call third party import stuff, the unlicensed, cyberpunk stuff or whatever. Like, they're not sparing any expense on developing those bodies and articulation, and neither are Adam and Phil, neither is Jason over at Spiro, neither is Wade over at Unparalleled. Like, people are, to borrow a phrase from the kids, sorry, I'm an old, they're cooking, right? Like, and we should let them cook. And I think that'll maybe push the chefs over at Hasbro and Mattel to do some stuff. So, JMac77, I appreciate this. Thank you. He just says, I just want to take a moment to appreciate the wide variety of toys you bring to our attention. Thank you, man. That's the point. That was kind of what I wanted to do. Like, I wanted to see some of this stuff that I think needs to get way more attention than it is. So, there are plenty of awesome shows that cover, the latest Marvel Legends or G.I. Joe Classified. Like, that stuff's awesome. McFarlane Figs. So thank you. I want to. And so, hey, Mark Major gave you a shout out for backing this Kickstarter, in his opinion. Oh, I got to check it out, man. Yeah, if you can DM me or send me that link, I'd love to see, because I want to do exactly that. Like, let people know what's up with, these indie toy companies who are like, these are folks who are passionate. They're collectors like you and I, and they have an itch that they want to scratch. They want to put out certain characters and creatures. So, like, let's support them. He's in for Gordy, which was the pumpkin head that I didn't show today, and the Wendigo. Oof. Yeah.
Make Sam and Dean Winchester figure. Can we get those, folks? Can we make those like 112? Like, I've seen customs, but can
the car.
Make the car, make the figures. Give me all these, and I'd have a whole shelf dedicated to Supernatural.
Yeah, man. Give me a Buffy while you're at it, and I can do the Buffy Winchester
Buffy,
crossover
Angel.
I've always wanted.
Come on, man. Give us this.
Yeah. So anyway, next week, folks, they'll be on the channel. So definitely stop in, hang out, ask those guys questions, let them know what you think. And both of them are, like I said, like they've been around the community for a while and making the toys. Like, they were well before there was a thing that we can call like this toy tube thing. And they've got plenty of stories to tell. So come through next Sunday. But man, I'm just realizing there's all sorts of stuff. Let's talk fashion, man. Are you watching Dan to Dan?
I love the opening song. It's on my phone, and I love the manga. I've read the manga before I watched the anime, and the anime just blew me away. I'm sad that there was issues with Crunchyroll in that anime, because there was supposedly leaks that Crunchyroll wasn't supposed to leak it before Netflix had gotten it. And then now, there was a whole big conspiracy that Netflix was supposed to release it and do like a simulcast like Crunchyroll would do, like if you had the premium Crunchyroll, but Netflix was like, well, screw that. We're just going to air it the day it comes out. And then somebody leaked it online, and there was a whole legal case. And the same thing with One Piece. And now like Crunchyroll's in big trouble. But yeah, this anime is chef's kiss. Love it.
Gotcha. Hey, Red, for sure, man. Take care. See that? Look at that, daddy duty. Bunch of geek dads in the house. And I wanted to highlight. I've always wondered, J-Mac, if you could at some point explain what's going on back in the Rad Dad. I don't know if there's more to that that's like cut off, but I am kind of curious. I had a friend who had a zine called Rad Dad for a long time. But anyway,
that's his old rocker days when he's going to zines, folks. For those of you that are not in the know, zines are those old school. Love it. I know what he's talking about.
They're back, bro. They're back. Gotcha. I have seen that, and yes, I have seen that. And thank you, man. Yes, Action Figuratorium. So Dan, I don't know. Did you see the SH Momo ISA figure that people are getting in hand now? And people are a little bit upset about how the way they design the clothing and everything and how it moves.
I think
don't know.
they took a hit with this from the way I think they did the clothing. Like when I saw it was very chunky, and I know that that's kind of the style in the fashion currently in Japan, is to wear like, and it was in the manga, it was always like that too, especially if you read like Dress Up Darling and things like that, where like the clothes are supposed to be very baggy and very loose fitting, and then or they would shift to the very form fitting stuff. And in Dan we know that like she's supposed to wear like the baggy clothes, and I think that the visual for this versus what the anime was doing was probably not the best move choice.
Well, I think, to be clear, with the figure, what folks were upset about was kind of like the way it's designed, right? These like interesting, like these gaps where like there shouldn't be gaps, and the way they kind of worked in they're trying to recreate her fashion, right? The baggy stuff in plastic form, and it's just not. And people were also complaining about the sort of like the way the plastic feels on this one or something. And so it looks good sculpturally speaking. I think it totally captures Momo, and like you get the emotions and stuff with the different emoting heads and hands. And I think it's great. Like I could totally see her laughing at him, right? But like so that stuff is cool. But what this person did was take a different body. I don't know if they use the head from the SH or something else, but
you probably could with some of those, like the third party, like you were saying before, the third party import figures. You probably could do that.
But this is all soft goods that this person created. So the account is tots_action_figures_custom_dio by Ronel E. Villanueva. Like, man, I'm like, dude, this dude is like he's a fashion designer. Hey, Momo, what's up, Kevin? Yeah, this guy right here. These soft goods, man, this stuff. This high fashion, which is like perfect, right? Because this is
that's exactly straight out the show. Like figure out the show.
Yeah, Momo ISA, baby. She's like, she's that what is it, Gyaru? Like she's part of that culture, high fashion, super on trend. And so I love that like this person was like, hey, I want to make a bunch of really cool outfits, including, I think that this is the way you do her sweater.
You need to, where it's supposed to be frumpy and it's supposed to be like that. Like, because I love like they kind of give her, when she does like her expression, she's very big with her expressions, even though she's small. So I agree with that. And the way that figure with the plastic, I know SH Figure Arts has taken a couple of hits lately with that, where people were complaining about Dragon Ball Z. Some of their Dragon Ball Z figures they were re-releasing were very like the way the pants didn't look as like, they look kind of blocky, and I don't know why they did it like that. But this looks perfect.
And that stuff is cool. But sorry, that stuff, the molded, like it's fine. It's great. Like there's a lot of times where it works really well. Like there's a Demon Slayer figure that I'm like, okay, the kimonos work. But there's just, I don't know, man. It has to be done well, but look at everything from the shoes to the leggings to the jacket tied around the waist. Look at that. I don't know. And I know there are people who are like, it's a little bit doll territory. Like there's so much we could talk about there.
Is it because, folks, once you get into 1/6 scale, I mean, and guys buy the bodies to build figures, for the, like, I just got, I pre-ordered Urameshi 1/6 scale, and his body, he comes with the version you get is one regular body with the school uniform and the other body with his, his training uniform. So,
Yep. I think the whole conversation dolls, action figures, silly. It's like, we know historically action figures were just, it's a name, a rebranding because of weird gender considerations here in the West. But at the end of the day,
I've had that talk off camera. He and I talked about this off camera.
Yeah. So. But at the end of the day, like take a look. It's like this stuff is cool. I think she looks good, but what could you do with this stuff, man? And so I hope, I don't know what the thoughts are on this. I'm not familiar with Ronel's work and to what extent it's like, oh, I'm gonna mass produce these and sell them or whatever. But check it out. I just think it's great. I know you're a big anime guy. I love the breadth of anime. Like, I love my shonen stuff. I love my hero stuff. I also love comedy, slice of life stuff. And so Dan the Dance, one of those weird ones where it's like, I'm trying to explain to people that they should watch it and I don't know how to sell it. And I was like, no, just watch it. Just check out. You'll know after the first episode if you like it or not.
Yes.
So, some of my folks, I'm just like, let me just show you the intro song. And they're like, oh, okay, sold. What's this? Because the art on this thing is fantastic. You like the action, frenetic kind of like lines and color. And then I don't know. I love that a toy collector has taken it upon themselves to craft some of these soft goods to kind of like a nod to all the like beautiful design that's happening in the show for
You can
Momo.
agree. This is what it does though. It inspires. Like,
Yeah.
Think about Legions when you see all the people that get like Big Dub when he was getting all the people from Chrono Trigger, you know, and you see guys that'll take that time and effort to look at something original and then recreate it through the lens of the Mythic Legion. You know, people do that with like the Spider-Man figures. People got really mad that Peter B. Parker Sentinel didn't come with soft goods. Suddenly Sentinel pulled the figure, re-releases it, and now he's got soft goods. As in Figure Arts, they were like, don't do it. Don't put a Peter B out with Mayday. If he's not wearing a fuzzy pink robe, he's not coming out with a fuzzy pink robe. So I think some of the companies are listening to that and they're paying attention. But is it going to be every company? Is it going to be every figure line that's going to get that detail? Hopefully, I would hope, but it's not. And I think this is one that would benefit from this.
Well, we know obviously like not everybody agrees. I respect you, John. Hot take. Not a hot take. I think he's saying I don't think that the pink sweater is an improvement. Sorry. All good. And I think that's fantastic because there is a great figure for you. The SH Figure Arts, like go grab it. Go, like, it's not a bad looking figure at all. But I'm deeply, deeply impressed by this like creative work on these soft goods. I think they're great.
He did the stuff. Imagine if you gave him Edge Runner
backpack,
like the Kaban style backpack. I mean,
yeah, we'll get there. Oh, hey, so he's here actually. What's up, man? Action Figuratorium. He wants to clarify he is a marketing guy, right? And yes, he's super supportive of the indie toy world, and he clearly has his perspective. And he'll lay it out here. BlackRock and Vanguard own Hasbro and Disney. We need to get rid of them. Slay, slay, slay. I love that. That's a callback too to the dragon. But no, real talk. I think there's some wisdom in there that folks should do some research on. That is well worth a conversation. And Allison, hold on, let me hold this while Allison says this. Action figures are dolls. They were just renamed to make dudes feel less girly. Aloha. No. Yeah, she named what we didn't name. Bonanza Figures branded them Action Men. Oh god, Action Men. Come on now. A bunch of dudes in a Hollywood backlot playing cowboy. But yes, no, for sure. Arguably the first action figures, and the term is definitely marketing. Yeah. And then I hear this too. I've heard this version of the like G.I. Joe came up with the term action figures. Yes, to figure out a way to sell essentially the same plaything and play style of dress up, different army outfits, whatever, to young boys. So
you can't have your wetsuit on all the time. You gotta have your you gotta have your uniform. Oh, we can't have your dress uniform. You gotta have this.
Yeah, man. Gotta fight those space cavemen and all that. All right. So here's some video, but go check that out. We should move on. I think, oh, are you ready? My nerds. Sorry, now I'm channeling Jay Shot. Okay. This is the last sort of like, let's just talk about this real quick. Old people in the room. The second you saw this font on a person's Instagram post on a toy company, in this case, Super Sevens, you knew exactly what was coming before you even read this, right? Coming soon, the interchangeable world of Micronauts, which is fun because eventually the toy line would get re-released using the same molds and they'd be rebranded the Interchangeables. And Micronauts, Micronauts, for folks who aren't familiar, have a like, if you're collecting action figures, you should at least be aware of the role that Micronauts played in terms of the development of action figures, right? There was a world where we had 12-inch dolls, like you said, right? You were just talking about the 12-inch G.I. Joe. And, at one point, toy companies had to rethink that for a couple of different reasons. And there was, an oil crisis. Plastic was getting expensive. And so they looked into smaller form factors, and Takara Tomy in Japan took their Microman doll, which was actually 12 inches, and shrunk it down into this new world called Microman. And if folks aren't familiar, if you can think of like a figure with a silver head, kind of like this one that Beta Ray Bob uses. And there was this whole world in this like tiny shrunken world where these beings called the Microman would live. Eventually, for those of you who are familiar with the toy history, they had like objects like in our world, like, I don't know, like cups and Walkmen and what else? Guns that were like life-size to us, but then would transform into these robot creatures that eventually got bought by Hasbro and turned into Transformers here, right? There's a line of figures, Microman and Diaclone. There's that history and connection to Transformers. And then these little figures that were 3.75-inch O-ring figures. My understanding is, I've been saying this lately, and for some reason I'm doubting myself, the first O-ring figure was the Micronauts. And so that eventually, of course, leads to G.I. Joe and Mego doing Buck Rogers and all those awesome O-ring things from my childhood. Your childhood?
Oh, definitely. We're the same age.
Yeah. So anyway, like they're coming back. The line has been dead essentially from the early 80s. Like I said, throughout the 70s, they sort of had that thing, died, came back as the interchangeables. A couple of other toy companies have bought the molds and rights and have tried things, but it just hasn't stuck. It's been dormant for a good, 2 decades now. I want to say Ashley Wood and 3-0, what is now 3-0, tried to kind of do a revival, but then things didn't work out. And so that disappeared. But now here we are with Super 7 teasing this. And then they're available for a pre-order now. And essentially what is on offer are two 3.75, or roughly, because they look like slightly bigger than that, O-ring figures in their Reaction Plus line. Reaction, if folks are familiar, are their 5 POA line, very much channeling the old Adventure People, Fisher Price Adventure People, and Kenner Star Wars, and form figure. And these are channeling that O-ring classic goodness from back in the day. I will tell you, I'm not a big O-ring guy right now. I don't collect a whole lot. I've got friends who are doing it, like with Delta 17 and their indie toy company. But it's just not, I'm stuck in this 112 quote unquote world. And so I'm not in a big hurry, honestly, to start up a 3.75-inch collection. But if you're doing Micronauts, you've got my ear. So this is my pitch. Well, before that, what do you think of these? Like, were you curious? Were you shocked? What were you thinking?
I mean,
right?
I'm
a fellow old.
As a fellow old, I gotta give it to you. I mean, this stuff brings back the memories of what I used to see when I would go to Chinatown with my grandparents.
Yes.
In New York. Like, I would see these figures, and I'm like, I remember I had Diaclone stuff. Like, me, you, and Ken and Jave talked about this. Like, I've had a lot of the Diaclone figures, like Transformer-esque, battleships and all those toys. And I know that Solo Chikojin has been re-releasing a lot of their vehicles now, and I'm not surprised at all that Super 7, who's been basically the spearhead, the tip of the spear, so to speak, for all of these kind of 80s, late 70s revival lines. Dungeons and Dragons, I did collect Super 7 for Thundercats. I had all the Thundercats. I got out of it because I was just like, I was in too deep. And I love that Super 7's doing this. We need more of these lines. Would I have liked it to be a 1/12 scale with a little bit more articulation? Yes. But
if
for those that collect O-ring,
yep. Yeah, for those that collect O-ring, for sure. And also, I wanted to say that if that is something that you want, and I'll say that to you and to the audience and anybody else who'll listen, I think these are cool. Like I said, I'm not in a rush to do a 3.75-inch collection, but I actually am going to pre-order these because I know how Super 7 works. It's what they do. Like, if you pay attention to whenever they get a new license, it starts off as a reaction figure. A 5 POA reaction figure. In this case, now they're doing it with O-ring. And depending on how those do, those are the ones that you'll see. The ones that sell well are the ones that end up becoming Ultimates 112, in their 112 line. That's what they did with the Beastie Boys that are now getting their Sabotage Ultimates. That's what they did with, I'm just thinking music for some reason, Biggie Smalls, and they did that with him. So it's like they did that with Motorhead, Cliff Burton.
I'm trying to remember who else they did it.
Motorhead. They did. I'm sorry, Cliff Burton. And then trying to think who else.
Wasn't it Megadeth? Megadeth or Iron Maiden? Sorry, Iron Maiden get some figures too.
Iron Maiden's getting them from NECA, who I'm waiting for them to ship. But I'm patient. They'll look great with the Cursed Dead, by the way. But this stuff is cool. So if you're interested in potentially seeing that, and I know it's no easy thing, like $40 is $40. I get it, especially if you're not a 3.75 collector. $40, sorry. It's $20 per figure, $40 for the 2-pack. Again, I know it's not your thing if you're waiting for the 112, but if you're into Micronauts, and I would say hey, let your Micronauts friends know about this stuff. Because, Super 7 is a company that definitely will be looking at how things sell and helping that determine what their next moves are in terms of what else they'll offer. But to date, this is the first time that we're getting a Baron Karza that is actually sort of the size of the more human-sized figures. Like the Time Travelers were the main figures they had. And technically in the lore, Baron Karza, that guy that I just showed you, shouldn't have been that much larger, which is why Rick Jones is saying here earlier, Baron Karza is now in scale and can actually fight Darth Vader, a figure that people accused Baron Karza of being a quote-unquote ripoff of. And if you do the timeline and the math, you'll know that Baron Karza showed up before 1977. But so yes, this is definitely just the tip of the spear.
I like that was a line.
Quit being weird.
Quit. Yeah, I loved it. Don't take what I said as don't do that. I like the way I phrased that.
Yeah. This guy. So here, Action Figuratorium. I found the Micronauts board game at my local Goodwill. Not sure who they made that for. I got that from a garage sale way back in Downey, California. It was sized. They had little cardboard play pieces that you would use, and they were like 1-to-1 with the action figures, so you could replace them. And it had this cool cardboard sort of space station thing that you could build that you could kind of use as a toy, and I was all about that. Yeah, man. So that's my pitch. Yeah. See, folks are saying they did a Reaction Eddie and a Vic Rattlehead. Yes, they did ODB and RZA, and man, if they're gonna make that, they did an ODB as a little guy reaction that they blew up to the Ultimates. If we get a RZA Bobby Digital, man. Anyway, back to Micronauts. Consider supporting. Microman has never really died, as Action Figure puts it out there. They've continued to make figures throughout. Yeah, they have. When I was in Japan last summer, you could see I was both intrigued by the stuff that I remember from when I was as a kid, but also the stuff that I missed out on because they didn't make them here. So yeah, Quip, you get it. We'll talk next week or 2 weeks when you're here. Allison is saying every line in the 1970s got a board game. Yep. It was a quick and easy product to turn around. Back then, turnaround on action figures was roughly 1.5 years. Yes. And as Quip points out, this one in particular was just smart because you could work the figures into it. And if you didn't have figures, they gave you a 1-to-1 time traveler. That was the size. It was brilliant. It totally would work with your figures.
I feel like
Rick
that's something
Jones.
that you would have
Yeah.
seen in Japan. You would have seen like in Japan, like, yo, if you don't have the cardboard figure, put your figure involved. That's so
Right.
I see that.
I love that brilliance here. So Biotron originally could fit a figure in his chest. Yeah. So this figure that you're seeing here, and I'll maybe waxing a little bit more on these because was a big kind of play setty / vehicle piece. If you don't know the Micronauts, sorry, I should have broken this down. They're called the interchangeable world of the Micronauts because all these pieces would come apart, pop and swap. Before we called it pop and swap. And you could put all these parts as armor and weapons, switch heads out. And so Biotron was this giant sort of like robot where that centerpiece that you're seeing here was actually big enough for a 3.75 inch. But in the Marvel Comics version, so back in the day, they're bringing something over from Japan. One of the go-to places was to New York City to talk to Marvel Comics and said, hey, we've got this toy line. Can you put a story to it? And they did. And in their sort of version, they created characters that we didn't quite see in figure form. Some of them they did, like a Croyer and this guy, Biotron. But in that world, Biotron was like roughly, he's a little bit like a tall, big, beefy, kind of like maybe like this to this, if you will, or maybe a little bit bigger. But so what's interesting about that, friends, because I'm a nerd, it says here under his title, and you call him like a title or description, Biotron, Commander Arcturus Rand's personal assistant. And so the big question when Micronauts comes around is, do you have the license for just the toys? Or do you actually have access to some of the Marvel lore and characters to maybe make toys of? And this to me is like a big nerdy red alert that like, that's a straight up Marvel character created by Marvel associated with the Micronauts line. And if Super 7's putting that on this thing, they're not that stupid that they would open that liability up without having their stuff checked off. And I know this because I've spoken with them about He-Man and She-Ra in the past when they had the He-Man license. So they pay attention to that kind of stuff. What were you say, Dre?
So I have a question, kind of a statement and a question. So we know that Hasbro's website sells Super 7 for the Power Rangers. They sell a lot of Super 7. And we also know that ROM is getting a Marvel Legend later this year. And ROM and Micronauts were things that did cross over and meet in the comics several times. Even in recently, they did something, I want to say about maybe 5 to 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're saying that red alert is that in that name that Marvel, that's very Marvel licensed branding, and Hasbro owns that license, why would you not? And if Hasbro and Super 7 are doing business together, I could see them saying, hey, well, you have that Marvel Legend ROM.
Oh, man.
Let's start putting out some more stuff. Hold on.
Let me start a board here. Let me get some red thread real quick.
See, I'm just saying it makes sense because we've talked about it with the Ghostbusters. We've talked about it with other figure lines. I mean, I cannot not say, especially with the fact that ROM gets his figure this year, and these are now up for pre-order, and it's like, I see that line coming.
On that note, a couple of things to support the thinking. ROM was one of those tricky figures too, who was in sort of like an intellectual trademark property rights limbo for a little bit, so that Marvel Legends couldn't really do much with it. Marvel Comics couldn't really do much with huge chunks of the ROM thing because it was initially a toy that had its own thing, and then Marvel created characters around it. So it seems like something has been worked out to the point where they can create a ROM figure. Similarly, for the longest time, you couldn't get Micronauts comics reprinted because of copyright issues. But really recently, both ROM and Micronauts got sort of the omnibus treatment. And so that was a big deal. People were like, oh, like, has something changed? So potentially, we could be seeing stuff. We'll keep paying attention. Where was it? Rick was pointing out that Ron is just Space Glider. So Space Glider was the name of the toy, a sort of like 3.75 dude with like a space glider and a helmet. But when Marvel took that toy, they gave it a name So the name Arcturus Round is actually like a TM Marvel kind of a thing. So they could have just said Space Glider's personal assistant, but they didn't. They said the name of the Marvel trademark character, and also the relationship of him being a personal assistant. Anyway, I'm just geeking out. I'm just finding an excuse here to just straight up like just say Micronauts are back, baby. I hope they do well. I want to see folks get what they want out of this. I'm trusting, Brian Flynn, Kyle, and all the whole Super 7 team that they worked in some, 5mm connection points on these. That's not what I see here, but maybe on the back so that you can work with your old toys. And I'm hoping that we will essentially see these in a different form factor, like an Ultimates. So, there you go. See, there's that 5mm.
If not even, oh my God. And they did it with the old Transformers. Come on, man. Like, if that's not you saying Hasbro, do this. I mean, folks, if this is not saying, hi, we're going to make more, and that Marvel Legend, imagine just, if you will, that figure done, and Hasbro says, hey, you know what? Let's make accessory packs like they did in Japan. And you can start adding and changing. What if you start making more to the line? They're so deep dives, folks. We both are nerding out because right now in my head, I'm like, oh my God, that'd be so awesome because I used to love those toys growing up. Awesome stuff.
All right. We're giant nerds, but we're also dads. So let's close out by at least talking about something that the young people, your kids, are enjoying. And we've kind of already talked about it. I know you're big into the Bluey thing. It seems like at your house. Sounds like your daughter's all about it.
That inspired
I got these little Bluey figures for Adam, Highly Articulated's kids, when I went to go visit them in Vancouver. But what's impressed me is not only do they have these cool little figures, but they're full on doing play sets, vehicles, like 3 vehicles that I'm kind of just sort of showing here. But I'm just, for me, it's nice to see. Hey, look, is that you? It's nice to see that young people are getting plastic little figurines and figurines that they can play with, as well as like little vehicles. Look at that. Look at you over here. What do you got there?
Sorry, when you said that, when you brought out that stuff, I started thinking about what Santa brought her for Christmas. So, like she wanted to get this like fairies thing, which we didn't end up buying her. But I found this by Bluey for like half the price. You get a little bench, the ladder, the swing. But you gotta have fairies. You gotta have a little place to hide.
Yeah.
So wait, you think that's all, right? For $20. I turned this around. I now have a slide,
nice,
a hammock, a playset area, and it came with a little purple fairy figure with Bluey. $20 on Amazon, and it's themed to one of the episodes that was like their fairy village, and you have the whole little fairy village outlined on a decal right inside.
Yep,
and it has a trap door, so you can actually have the characters. Like Rory has played with this, where she's had her figures up here. They've gone down the back, and they've played.
Sure.
It's awesome. I mean, Ewok Village, folks, for kids.
But you know what? Like that toy right there, I don't know what toy it was, but I had something similar like that treehouse kind of playset thing. I don't know what toy line it was for, but like that was the stuff that like, definitely set me on the path of kind of like playing with toys, using my imagination, building worlds, going into other worlds to kind of work stuff out. So I'm happy to see this stuff, and the Bluey show is some really good stuff. He wants to know if you've got the Healer House.
We did not buy the Healer House. My wife and I had to veto due to space. Even though we're moving to the new house, we had to veto the Healer House. We have the mall, the big shopping mall that's like my mother-in-law got it for her last year for her birthday. So we have the mall, and we have the beach house. We have that. We have the school bus. I'm trying to think. Santa just bought the airplane. We have a lot of the playsets.
Santa, good job, Santa.
Santa killed it because that mall is amazing. It has, like Rory was killing with it, because it comes with a truck. You get the store clerk. It took all 4 of us to put the decals on this thing, because folks, when you have a teenager that can actually help get these things in there. It's awesome. And
You
the
mean with the small
elevator makes
fingers?
sounds. Yeah, like dude, this stuff is amazing, and I love the for everything you got with this. It's like you get like the doors open, it makes like boo boo, and it
Oh,
makes the sound
cool.
effects.
Hmm.
It's a great toy. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff totally is just reminding me of what like the Fisher Price little kind of play sets for that for Sesame Street. I didn't have as a kid, but my parents got for my kids when they're sort of preschool age. They found it at the Pasadena flea market. Shout out again, Pasadena. But this, that mall is channeling that. This house stuff is super cool. Yeah, they got two different houses. So, I think this is great, man, where people are like, we're always sort of lamenting, right? Like, oh, what's going to happen are there going to be future collectors and stuff? Um, it's going to be different. They're going to be liking things that are different from ours. And that's my advice to the olds is like, hey, man, no one to get out the way. Like, if there's going to be a new version of Motu or a new version of Star Wars or a new version of whatever it is, just be mindful that whatever that new version is might be somebody else's jam, another generation's, and let them have it. Because we were lucky to get ours, and there's a world where there would be no Star Wars or there would be no Masters of the Universe. Like, I see that conversation happening now. And I think a lot of that starts with this stuff, right? Really good sort of preschool age and older toys. What are the age ratings on these? And I know your kids at
She's
older, but
Rory's only Lana's 15 and
uh-huh.
Rory's only 4. She's gonna be 5 this year. So
Okay.
these toys, like when she was getting them at 2, they were not. She didn't enjoy them at 2. 2, it was more about the little doodads that were
She
inside of
was
it.
really little.
So
Yeah.
at 4, 3, and 4, she is, and 5, going on 5 now. She is more about the, oh look guys, like I'm gonna cook dinner, and she's like, and she'll have these full on, like I told you, she has these
Yeah.
full on like activities, and she integrates the characters. Like
Oh,
you'll
this
see
is
like
different. I just
Peppa
realized.
Pig and and Bluey will sit and have dinner with Ghost Spider and Spin, and they have these whole dialogues that, like, she stole my Buzz Lightyear car from Lightyear. I had that whole. I was gonna mod it. She stole it from me. She's like, I want it, so she took it. So again, like, you're right. This is the next generation, and there is a way for us to step aside. I think that we have to take away our preconceived ideas of what they're going to collect.
Mhm.
I think that these play sets are awesome. I think that they are necessary because we don't see these anymore.
Yep.
Marvel is only doing it for the kids lines, and like I saw the Spider-Man web one, and I'm a huge fan of the cartoon, and so is Rory. And I actually found a 3D printed version that
Mhm.
big shout out to Dave is going to be making for me, and we're going to
Mhm.
actually make it for 12th South things. So for Spider-Man fans, we will be eventually, hopefully later this year, having a model of the web base, which is the 3 different
Oh,
areas.
yeah.
Ghost Spider, Peter Parker, and Miles, and I'll be having that. But that's all inspired by Rory. She inspired me for this. Like, she was like, "Papa, I
Killer.
love this." So it's cool, so cool.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't have anything like profound to say other than just other than what I've already said. I appreciate that, John. Yeah. To quote Ludacris, Luda, right? Get out the
Mm-hmm.
way, or it's not about you. Like, just like step out of the way, folks. Um, so I'll just say that. And then there's this. I hear this because there's a Bluey that seems to come with every set, but yeah, maybe
We have
they'll figure.
12. And
Okay.
I'm sad because my wife and I get mad because Rory knows. Like, if she asks for a Bluey, we're like, which one? She's like, I want the one from the mermaid set. And
Oh,
we
and
have to memorize
yeah.
as a family which one's the mermaid one, because she comes with
Okay,
a
hold
shell.
on. Let me pause you there for a second, because if you're gonna tell me that that's a hardship or a difficulty, I know you knew exactly which accessory went with which Four Horsemen figure. So don't even front like that. That's a difficult thing or a challenge for you. You'll be
It's not
just
for me.
fine,
No,
Papa.
no, that's not for Papa. It's not, but for my
Yeah.
wife, again, that's not a toy collector. It's
Yeah.
like she'll look to me and be like, Papa, which one is it? I'm like, crap. I'm like, all right, let me go dig in here. And like, I know where it is, So and it's like Rory is, like I said, she's more, now we're getting into superheroes more. And she wants those things. It's cool to see her play with the accessories more, which I think is something that we've talked about. This is imaginative play. You want that level of like creating the stories and the dialogues and having fun.
I have an idea. What they need to do is do a battle armor Bluey, flying fist Bluey, maybe more ways to differentiate so you don't feel so bad.
Make
about
more
getting
accessories
dupes.
for the figures like themselves. Like if they have watched this, please, if you're making these toys for my child, make accessories that fit all the figures. My Halloween ones are the only ones from that 4-pack that you get Chloe, Lucky, Bluey, and Bingo. The Bingo and Bluey's accessories are the only two that can swap onto any Bluey and Bingo figure.
Yeah, that's odd. That's odd. Hey, man, Geek Dad, I appreciate you're doing the work over there. I am too. My kids actually don't really care too much about the figures. But they're neck deep in my Lego collection, now their Lego collection. So so there's that. And I don't mind because I still will say, even though I love these things, Lego is like brain candy. It's brain candy / vegetables. It's the stuff that will foster creativity, give you hours of play, imagination, all that stuff. But friend, we didn't even really get to talk much about like the impact of Japanese culture on our we didn't get to talk Kamen Rider today. Yeah. So we're gonna have to do a part 2 and 3 and 4 and whatever, man. Because I got stuff to talk to you about. But we'll do that another time, man. We'll talk SIC. We'll talk all that goodness. But I appreciate you coming through today. Did you mute? Or maybe I lost audio? You're muted.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. Thank you. No, this was awesome. You and I, like I said, we have a great friendship building, and I love talking to you about this stuff because you and I have so many of the similar interests. When we actually do have a part 2, I will be in the new office of the new house. So I will have a whole new background set up.
We're talking super soon.
February 3rd.
Oh, congratulations.
So, you and I are gonna be seeing a whole new setup. I'm gonna have a whole new wall, whole new set of statue stuff behind me, and we will have a whole setup of just Kamen Rider. So you and I will be talking, and I'll be able to grab them off the shelf and show you. So it'll be awesome.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, thank you all very much for hanging out. It is now 6. There's plenty of options to continue the toy talk. You could go over to Geek Dad Life. You could go check out Yimbo. Who else? Hella Dope Toys. Like the list goes on and on. So have fun tonight. And if you don't get to watch those things live, go give them the replay. Hit the like and the subscribing, please. This is when I got to get better at this whole YouTube thing. But hey, if there's other properties two things that you remember, like Micronauts, that need to come back, please drop that in the comment section, not in the live chat, but in the comment section. And if you are a geek dad, I would love to hear your geek dad story in the comment section down below. Tell us, like, how's that? Are your kids getting into it? Do they think you're too much of a geek and they're not interested? What have they picked up from you? All that kind of stuff. So anyway, thanks again, Dre. Normally I try to pretend like I'm pro and I drop in like music like this, dude. Oh, wait, no, before. Where can they talk to us about father figures? I'm sorry, man.
Right. No, it's okay. Before we leave,
yeah.
So Father Figures is going to be having its first episode debut the same day as Dave and I go live with our podcast returning of the Outer Dimensions. Okay. So Father Figures will be dropping its first episode, which is going to be a mini-series of the impact of kids' cartoons and cultural representation in them. Okay. So the first episode we're doing is actually Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur from Marvel. I'm going to be talking about that, and I already filmed it. It's edited. It's set to debut on the 25th. So Friday the 25th is going to drop at noon Eastern. Check that out. And then that evening, you want to catch Dave and I talking movies. We're going to be talking on the Outer Dimensions podcast channel, and that's literally 70s, 80s, 90s up to now. We're going to be doing the hero's journey. So the
Oh.
whole episode is going to be dedicated to 3 films covering the hero's journey. We're going to be talking about Big Hero 6. It's going to be one of the movies we're talking about because I just did that for my wife. And we're going to do 2 other films. I'm yet to talk to Dave about the other 2 yet. But we are that's going to be live, so you guys can tune in at 10:30 Eastern in the evening, and then that's going to lead into hopefully Mega J Retros at midnight. So y'all be able to check him out as well. So
I love it, man.
Check it out.
Yeah, those topics sound wonderful. If you ever need someone to talk with, or I'll be in the live, and I'll or no, those won't
You're
be
invited.
It won't be
anytime
live.
you want.
Sure, I would.
You're welcome anytime.
Both of those topics are like hell yes, but anything, I love it. I love it, man. All right, well, send my regards to Dave. I'll be watching on the 25th. Thank you everybody here for watching. Head over to it's now different. It's Dre the Geek Dad.
It's Dre the Geek Dad. It's at YouTube. So the YouTube is the same name as here. Go over, sign it up. We're trying to get to 200. After that, it's going to be just lots of fun stuff. You're going to be seeing lots of reviews of kids' toys as well as some adult stuff. And it's going to be more of the kid stuff, folks. More kid stuff, not just the dad stuff. So
let's continue the conversation from today over there. Link is in the description, but it'll also be in those links down. Later. Cool. Is music playing? I think music's playing. Oh, weird, but it's playing through here. All right, folks. Have a good night. This is where I'm gonna hide our faces because we're done. Woo. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week. Peace, love to all the folks out in Altadena, Pasadena. Hope everyone's good out in Malibu and Palisades, Santa Monica. Be safe. Bye, y'all.
Later.